All right, Shalom. I want to start by giving our praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who teach and rule well, and also to their elders, the men that taught them. I pray the Lord have peace, blessings, and mercy upon the households of the hopeful elect. This is the brother Shema Wan from the Great Millstone Houston Church. And I want to come with a video touching on the news on how King Charles in the UK was introducing, a digital ID, wherein it could restrict you from public services, if you're not with it. All right, something that he's introducing out there in the UK, which is just another step closer to the MOTB, which is gonna affect everybody worldwide, wherever you are. This isn't just a step that's going to affect people in the UK. Now, this is something that's becoming, this is what's going to be common, amongst all nations, which the introduction to the digital ID is going to lead to the mark of the beast. So I want to play a little bit. I'm going to play this short clip of what he said, then Lord willing, get a few precepts. And I pray this lesson be edifying to the Lord's elect.
My ministers will also proceed with the introduction of digital ID that will modernize how citizens interact with public services. My ministers will also proceed with the introduction of digital ID that will modernize how citizens interact with public services.
So it will have a great, effect on how people interact with public services, like he said. And let me do this 1 second. Let me share my screen. What are public services? Just type it in. It says public services are essential services provided by the government or publicly funded organizations to improve the quality of life for citizens and communities. Now imagine well, look at what it says. Examples of public services. It says healthcare, education, public safety, transportation, infrastructure. Now imagine if you're not with it, if you're against, the digital ID, you're gonna be limited, or have complete no access, to many things such as healthcare, education, public safety, transportation, and infrastructure. And last night, just to mention, man, I had a dream. Hold on, let me turn the fan on. I had a dream, and I remember a little portion of it wherein people weren't able to go inside of their own houses. It's like they had the access denied due to them. Now I don't know in the dream whether it was like the chip, the actual mark, but I do know it was a part of the dream where a lot of people, you know, couldn't live in their homes no more, due to them not having access into it. I don't know if it was, a scan, digital ID, or if it was actually the chip at the moment, but that that was a heavy part in the dream. I do remember many people walking, no longer being able to drive, and no longer having access to, to your house, to your living space. But let me see. Yeah, that's it. Let me go back. 1 second. Let me do this. Just on Google, look up latest news on digital IDs. So it says global IDs or global digital ID expansion is shifting rapidly toward voluntary adoption and mobile wallet integration amid mounting privacy concerns. And regardless of the concerns, because as you read, I'll just read it, says governments worldwide are pulling back from mandatory implementation to ease public backlash. And that's BS. Don't believe in the hype. It says focusing instead on streamlined access to services and travel infrastructure. And that's nonsense because according to the scriptures, it's not going to be no, no drawback from the people making the uprise. According to the scripture, Revelation chapter 13 and 16 is coming to pass where it won't be optional. The people who inhabit the earth will be in a situation, to make a great move, talking about the MOTB, and we'll get that. But how it says governments worldwide are pulling back from mandatory implementation to ease public backlash. Nope. Because according to prophecy, it tells you, if that was true. Hold on, where's my tab bit? Second Ezra 15. Let me share my screen real quick. Because when I read that, it was like, nah, it ain't finna be no due to the public, making the uprising. They're gonna tone it down, and back off of it. That's the complete opposite. Real quick, Second Ezra 15 and 14, it says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another with swords in their hands, for there shall be sedition among men. Okay, real quick. Just getting that. That's gonna increase. Where can I share my screen or look it up? I just want to highlight sedition. Look it up real quick. Sedition, it says conduct or speech enticing people to rebel against the authority of a state or a monarch. And that's what's going to increase. All right. And mind you, these devils are gonna come down, having great wrath, with people who do come up against that. All right, because at the end of the day, our mission over here is to give fair warning, to the nation of Israel and to these nations about what's coming to this earth. All right. And as far as you being an Israelite, it's important to know what's coming where, whenever things take place, it won't catch you by surprise. You can be built up, in the faith of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shah. Wherein, according to the testimony of Yahweh Shah, we prophesy. All right. And according to prophecy, things are going to get tighter. More trouble is coming. And what we just watched, King Charles talking about, saying that they're introducing a digital ID and how it can affect, man, what did this dude say? The introduction of digital ID that will modernize how citizens interact with public services. That's a great move. That's a major move. All right, which is not just going to affect those in the UK. It's going to have a toll on those worldwide. Let me read this though. Let me go back to that scripture. But yeah, sedition, that's coming. All right. Where is it? All right, let me go back. I didn't even change my screen. So like Second Ezra 15 and 16, it says, for there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another, they shall not regard their kings or princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. And people are getting fed up to the point where it don't matter about obeying the law, or those in authority. because life is gonna get so pressed where people are gonna lose it, man, and not care, and not care about the law, because it's gonna be lawlessness everywhere. These devils, what is it? Problem, reaction, solution. All right, all of these things are major steps into what's coming ultimately down the pipe. Speaking about the mark, and it says, "A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able." So just imagine having, these digital IDs, in effect where um things are gonna be, or how should I say, where everything is gonna be a part of this system or the grid set up where you have to be a part of that, or you won't have access to it. Like he said, your access to public services. So, hey, imagine where you can't travel no more due to you not being set up or a part of the program. And the digital ID is not the mark of the beast. It's like we're all gonna have, to experience that, but it comes to the point of cutting that shit off whenever it gets physical with that mark being, being inserted in your skin. But it says, "A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able." It says, "For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid." And this is all on its way. It has to get like this before the Lord comes and, makes his return, gathering his elect who are going to be on the earth during these times, Lord willing. Seeing how it says in Second Ezra, the 13th chapter, it will be better to see how the end plays out, being such a bad time. But at the same time, it's going to be exciting because the Lord is going to, deliver and do the things that he said he was going to do. Imagine not being able to, leave about freely to go get food if need be or whatever. The Lord is going to be doing things in these last days that he said he was going to do, as far as protection over his elect, feeding his elect, keeping the elect stable. Wherein during the time of crises, we'll actually be stable in those times due to, what we entertain now. Our fear and our faith is towards Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shah. Knowing these troublous times are coming. But our faith is where, hey, we just gonna continue to serve the Lord, man, and he'll take care of the rest. What is this? 2 Corinthians chapter 2 and 11, real quick. Because what did it say? I'm just go back to the screen real quick. It says, going back to this, global digital ID expansion is shifting rapidly towards voluntary adoption and mobile wallet integration amid mounting privacy concerns. It says governments worldwide are pulling back from mandatory implementation, which is a lie. It says to ease public backlash, they don't care about the people. It says focusing instead on streamlined access to services and travel infrastructure. That's BS, man. I just had a precept. Let me go. 2 Corinthians chapter 2 and 11. I'm trying to get better with my screen sharing. 2 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 11, it says, "Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are his devices." And mind you, too, the things that are taking place on this, like on the world level, like as far as these the push towards the digital ID and how everything is going, that goes to the top, dealing with the elites who the earth has been given into the hands of, so we understand the elites model or they MO. We understand, what they want. Um hold on. We understand their push. So whenever you just like how it says, how did it say? Come on, man. How it says they were pulling back from the mandatory implementation to ease public backlash. Nope. Because guess what? Certain things that they're, putting out there inside in front of your face, you know, that shows you where it's headed, man. That shows you where it's headed. This is heading towards the MOTB. At least Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. So we know his mind. All right. We understand the mind of the wicked in their goal to try to get everybody under that pretty much this man wants to be the most high. He has that God complex. He wants everybody to be in his hands underneath his watch at all times, having total control over the people. All right. In the way that's gonna take place, the end game, the end goal is Revelation 13 and 16. But a little step like this ain't so little. That's a move towards the chip. Revelation 13 and 16. It says, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead. And this mark is something physical. It says charagma, all right, G5480, charagma, a stamp, an imprinted mark. And this is something physical that it says a thing carved for number 2, sculpted or graven work. All right. It's going to be a actual device, which is already here on the earth. That grain, how they say it looks like a grain of rice. It's so small, but it is a chip. All right. Again, a microchip. It says, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. And this is going to be mandatory. All means all. And it's going to come to the point where, like King Charles said, a new modern way for the digital ID, and it could affect you, how you can deal with your public services, however he said it in his little speech. So imagine being, cut off from society unless you receive a mark. And that's what is gonna, that's the pressure that's coming with it. You're gonna have to depend on the government, or you're gonna be out here by yourself, outcast to society. All right. But the scriptures tell you, hey, we're going to stay upon the Lord, not on him that smote us. And we're going to stay upon the Lord in truth. All right. Isaiah 10 and 20. But verse 17, it says, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. So if you don't have that, if you're not with the system, how it's going to be, how it's heading, where a mark is going to be presented, you will not be able to, or the chip, that's the mark, you will not be able to buy or sell. All right. Real quick, I looked up charagma for that word mark. Let me go into the root of that word. It's charax. So the charagma is the microchip. Charax would be, I would say, is on the outline of biblical usage. It says a pale or a stake, a palisade. So in this case, it will be a syringe, something with a sharp point at the end. Wherein the actual chip, the charagma, is gonna be inside of the charax. That's the way it's gonna be inserted into the skin. That's why it's gonna be subdermal, under the skin. Then the root word of that word charax is grapho, and it says to write with reference to the form of the letters. It says to delineate or form letters on a tablet. It says parchment, paper, or other materials. Hold on, or other material. Let me see. Delineate. It says describe or portray something. Let me see. Represent outline. I thought it said something else for delineate, but hold on. So back to Grapho, which is going to be the way of the device, having all the information on it. It says to write to one by writing, to give information, directions, and that's how it's going to be. All the information is going to be inside of this little device, all right, that they want you to insert into your flesh, which is it's not as light as people take it, because if doing so, if you take that, this is what's going to happen. This is the fate of it. But just looking at what's happening right now, these are steps towards this taking place. It says, Revelation chapter 14:8, and there followed another angel saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And this is talking about America. All right, America is targeted to be destroyed. All right, this city is going to fall completely and never be inhabited again, by man. Speaking of America, it says, and the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast in his image and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. So destruction is coming your way if you take that chip, if you receive that mark. All right, you're gonna be destroyed by the nuclear destruction that's coming, and by the holy angels with Yahweh Shah. All right, it's not gonna be tolerable. That's gonna be the ultimate judgment, for receiving that mark. But I just wanted to look into that a little bit. I pray this lesson was edifying to the Lord's elect. Until the next time, I say shalom.